Today I want to help you with a minimalist camera setup that's going to make you want to worry less and shoot more. Look, camera gear can be expensive. Like a lot of beginners, I went nuts at first, and ultimately I spent thousands of dollars. But then I learned a lot, and now I just want to save you some misery, some money, some time, and I want to recommend to you a minimalist camera setup that'll make you want to shoot more and spend less. I will also give you 5 different dimensions to consider, so when you're setting up your kit, you can think of how to put this all together. And in the end, I'll give you 3 specific setups that you could purchase, and I'll explain why. But first, we're going to have to go on a journey, and it's my journey. Maybe 2 years ago, I got a starter camera. I used it, but it felt limiting, and so I sold it. And then I got the most popular camera out there. You couldn't go on Instagram, you couldn't go on TikTok, you couldn't see a YouTube review. You mentioned looking for a cool new camera. This is the one. And oh my gosh, but I used it for a week or two, and that was it, and it felt limiting. So I sold that. And then I got that camera's big brother with interchangeable lenses. It was so cool. It was a great camera. And so almost right away, I bought a second camera. Wait, what? The second camera was small and it was pocket-sized. And so I thought, well, this will be good because sometimes if I want to take out the real camera, I could do that. And then I can take this pocket-sized camera. Where this money came from, by the way, I had this bonus that I had put just a little bit away for just me. I could spend it on whatever I wanted and it was fine. And so I was just kind of playing with a little bit of money back and forth between these things. So I have this great camera. I have this small camera for when I don't want to take out the great camera. Like, what am I even thinking? And then I saw a YouTube video, and this video said, you are doing it wrong. You shouldn't be using APS-C cropped sensors. You need full frame. If you're trying to be a serious photographer, full frame is the way to be. And there are so many videos that tell you this. And so I bought one. I bought a professional full frame camera, has all the megapixels, had dual card slots, had all kinds of function, the most incredible autofocus in the world. And coming from Fujifilm before, that was not really good. Autofocus was horrific on that system, comparative, until the little firmware patch, but whatever. And this thing was awesome, this full frame camera, and it is awesome. But then I needed all the lenses, well, not really, but a lot of them. And so this story went back and forth, and you get the idea, right? Camera people have a term for this. They call it G.A.S, Gear Acquisition Syndrome. Oh my gosh, I don't have to tell you that G.A.S is silly. You only have to tell one non-camera person your kind of camera journey story, and they will make you feel horrible. But I'm not here for that. I'm not going to slap your wrist. Instead, I want to just tell you what I learned along the way and what I learned in the journey and what it can help you decide what to do. The first thing I learned was kind of obvious. I had no way of knowing what would end up being important to me. How could you? If I've only taken photos on your phone, how would you know what matters to you until you're out there with a camera? You're just speculating. So you have to start somewhere. So even though I didn't take advantage of this the first time around, my first piece of advice to you is to buy a starter camera, a cheap camera, a toy camera. You could buy something from I'll tell you a couple examples. Let me tell you why though. For one, it's less stress. If you run right towards an expensive camera, you can regret a lot faster. It's horrible. Second is when you use an inexpensive, cheap, almost toy camera, you will learn what you don't like. You will learn what doesn't work out. But also, if you take it everywhere with you, you're going to start the habit, aren't you? You're going to have that habit of having a camera nearby. So for instance, Camp Snap cameras. Now, I am an affiliate for this. If you buy the camera on my link, I think you get money off and I think I get $5. Don't think there's a lot of incentive for me to push this on you, but they're kind of fun. They're like a little toy type camera, very, very popular. You could get a Vivitar camera. I think they sell these at Walmart. You can get the Kodak Pix Pro or the Nikon Coolpix. These are all those little bitty cameras that you see. They're inexpensive. You can see them at drugstores and stuff. But that kind of a camera, you just lug that around for a while, you are going to learn a little bit about what you want, what you don't want, where you get stuck, what doesn't work out. But now from there, now that you've got one that you've walked around with for a little bit, let's talk about what to look for and where to start. Remember I told you I'd give you like 5 dimensions for you to consider? Well, here they are. Number 1, let's talk about what matters most to you. And you can pick a couple of these, but you kind of can't pick all of them, if that makes sense. Does image quality matter the most? If you want something that, you could see from space, but also you could get so close that you could see every smooth, shiny detail on a dog that you took from 25 miles away, image quality might be the thing that matters the most to you, and that's going to influence where you spend your money. If you want ease of use, it's amazing how many people say, I just want to turn it on and push the button and have a photo when I'm done, or a video. Could be weight. And I'll come back to this one because weight and size, really. I'll come back to this one because that's driven my decisions of late. Those turn out to be something that matters more to me than some of the others. It could be versatility. I told you I bought the Fujifilm X100vi and it had a fixed lens. Well, that's great if you don't want to do anything. But if you want versatility, you get something like this, like a full frame, where you can swap out the lens and you can put different lenses on the body and make it into a different camera almost immediately. Or the other thing to think about, and this is the argument in the other direction, you get something that requires editing, like a photo out of a Sony. You can take it straight out of the camera, but most people like to edit them. Or do you want to take it right out of the camera without fussing with it? One of the many reasons I really love the OM System OM3 is that the JPEGs right out of the camera are beautiful, and I love it. So you could choose that as well. That's number 1. So number 1 is just a question of what matters most to you. The second question, this next dimension, what will make you enjoy the camera the most? Is it pocketability? Look at how big this full frame guy is. This does not fit in a pocket. So maybe pocketability will make you enjoy it more. Is it successful, high quality images, the kind of photos that when people see them, they're like, oh my gosh, that doesn't even look real, which to me flips me right out, but especially in the world of AI, right? One that's about fun without too much fuss. One that's lightweight and easy to carry around. One that's got variety, lots of lenses. So what if that is important to you? That's the question of what's going to make you enjoy it the most. Dimension number 3 is, what do you care about most after you've taken the photo? My friend Chloe calls them memory stamps. Maybe you just want to go around making memories. Maybe you need documents of what happened, like a photojournalist or someone who's covering a wedding. Is it for your art and your expression? It's a different bunch of criteria for that, right? Commercial viability for business purposes. This camera, the Sony A7iv, is full frame. It's got 2 card slots in there. So it means that if something happens to the first one, the second one can fail over. I would have 2 of these if I were a professional photographer with 2 sets of lenses on them so that I'd have all the backup and redundancy I could and lots of spare batteries to go around. Do you just want to take bangers for social media? It's okay. But if you don't really figure out what do you care the most about after the photo has come out, you're not going to really know which one's going to matter to you. Do you see how these dimensions are working together? Number 4, how much can you afford to spend on this? Now, I'm in a subreddit on Reddit, and I watch people ask the question about they want certain cameras or they don't know what they want, but they kind of give the criteria of what they want. And what they want every single time is like a Rolls Royce with an F1 body, and they don't want to spend more than $100. At $100, you're basically getting a toy camera or a very cheap camera, or very, very old. Between $200 to $400, these are US dollars, but you can translate to where you live. Between $200 to $400, you can still get something older like a DSLR. I have a future video coming for a really cool old Nikon that I bought for $300. For $500 to $1,000, you could get an older mirrorless, but it's going to be some better options, right? You could get the A6000 is somewhere between $300 and $500 on Sony. There's a bunch of mirrorless ones that would go in the $500 to $1,000. You could probably get some of those Canon Rebel bodies as well. When you get to around $1,500 or so, you can really get a decent APS-C or a decent point and shoot. This is around $1,500, $1,600 for the OM3 on the deal I got anyway. I paid $1,580 for it. And $1,500 gets you a pretty decent camera, pretty good one. $2,000, you're up to pro level gear. This camera retails for around $2,000 or so right now. I got mine for a little less, but this retails for around $2,000 or so right now. So pro level, around $3,500 or more. Now we're talking high level gear, something with, like, for instance, very high resolution. So something like the Sony A7iv or something. I know Sony a little more than I know some of the other brands, but none of that really exactly matters. Once you go over that, like 5,000 plus, you're into Leica and Hasselblad and kind of real high-end cameras. So what can you spend? And by the way, one thing to think about, and I didn't put this into what I was going to talk to you about, but one thing to think about too on price is if you start with a lesser body but a great lens, you can always upgrade your body. The lenses are what you start to chase. I've made so many videos about that I promise I won't let this one turn into that again, but the lenses are what you chase. Number 5, what matters to you in a lens? This is important because maybe maybe you spent all your money on the body and all you can have is the kit lens. Well, that's great. The kit lens means some cameras, when you buy them, come with a lens included. Most don't. Maybe that's what you can afford. But here's some other dimensions to think about. What if low light is very important? To get to low light, you need something with a really high aperture like f1.4. This is f1.2. You need something that's what they call a fast lens. And to get low light as your most important thing in a lens, that could be what's important to you. Range could be important. I'm knocking everything over. Range could be very important to you. You might need something with a zoom. This is a 28 to 200, so this covers quite a bit of range. You could get to the early side of birding with that, or you can at least capture like in a sporting event or something. It could be that image quality above all else, so you need to buy the equivalent of like a Grandmaster type lens, a GM or an L lens on Canon or whatnot. Or specialty lenses like sports and birds. That's like those people that have the traffic cone size lenses, or they look like they're a tuba player in a band. And then maybe there's variety over all else, like a big fat zoom. Or you might have a couple other reasons for a particular lens. You might want to use one lens forever. The way I am rocking this at this point, this lens is the lens on my Sony right now. You might be that way. Or must be compact. What I am loving. Look, this is the same focal equivalent of these lenses. Look at the size difference. This is half or less the size of this big beast. And it's the same focal range of 50 millimeters. Must be compact. Could be the 5th one. So that's all 5. But when you start to put them together, let's boil it down a little. Maybe you want image quality above all else. Well, image quality can happen at any budget. Anything from 16 to 24 megapixels, which is just the size of the image, not necessarily the quality, that can happen at any budget. You just have to read reviews and see what people say about the general image quality of the camera and the lens. Image quality is largely affected by the lens. Expense comes from very high resolution. You pay a lot of money for really good quality engineering, for one thing, but also if you're chasing really intense resolution. So your highest quality lenses will cost the most money. Old DSLRs have great quality, but they're big and they're bulky. Old DSLRs feel like you're holding up a pair of shoes in front of your face. They're huge sometimes. And when I show you my other video coming out about the Nikon D700, it looks like that. It looks like you can't see my whole human head behind it. They're bulky, so you might not get size out of it. So as you're looking through the dimensions, you see where I'm going with all this? One in general about looking at the dimensions, too much gear almost always leads to not using a lot of it. The more things you have, the more dust it will collect. I promise you with all my soul. Whenever you see someone showing off their camera collection, what you're seeing is a lot of gear that they are not using. So they're basically bragging about, look at all these things that I am neglecting and not letting anyone else use. It's important to realize it is okay to buy something and then sell it back. This lens is on sale at eBay right now. I put it up because I use it. It's fine. It's a great lens. A lot of people love it. I don't use it enough. It's not my kind of thing. I'm going to give it back to the world. You can buy and sell things. That way you have that permission not to have to go crazy. Although we are talking about avoiding G.A.S, right? Gear acquisition syndrome. Okay, we're getting near the end. I promised you 3 specific setups, and so I want to walk you through those. Now, ahead of time, I'll say, I know Sony equipment a little better than others. You could say to me afterwards, but what about blah? I can help you. I surely can. And I put up a website called firstrealcamera.com, which you can go take a look at and see if that helps you too. But the whole concept, the whole thing I said is I would tell you about minimalist camera setups. So the first one I'll give you, I don't even own this camera, but I've used them. They're fun. Sony RX100 Mark V. Came out in 2016. It's 20 megapixels. The range on it, it's a fixed lens kind of a thing. The range on it is equivalent to 24 to 70 millimeter. So it's got the kind of standard do everything kind of, but not super long zoom size lens. Some of the other RX100s have longer zoom if you want it. The price on that is somewhere between $500 to $700, and it's a great pocket camera. If you just want to deal with that, just pocket camera, no changing of lenses, easy to learn, not that expensive, that's the one. If you could spend a little more, maybe something like the Ricoh GRiiX, but then that has no zoom. And that one only does 1080p for video, whereas the RX100 has 4K video. We didn't even talk about video because, mostly photography. You want a full frame? Here's a real minimalist kit to buy by the Sony A7iv III that came out in 2018. It's 24 megapixels. It comes with no lens, unless you find one with a kit lens. It does 4K 30 video. It's got dual card slots. It's got in-body image stabilization. You'll get it for about $1,000 used. What should you put on it? An all-around one lens that you could use for almost everything would be the Sony 35mm f1.8. They can get that for about $500 used. So you're in $1,500 if you do that. Or if you want a kind of 24 to 70 from wide to slightly telephoto kind of size, you could spend just a little bit more and buy the Sigma 24 to 70 f2.8 DGDN Art lens for around $800. By the way, around the same thing as the Sony A7 III price point and everything would be the Canon R6. So that's an example of a Canon one you could pick up. Any camera. Here's a generic one. This is my third pick for a minimalist setup. Any camera with a 28 and a 50 equivalent lens, meaning 28 for wide shots like your phone does, and 50 for anything from portrait to taking in the rest of the world. Any camera with just two lenses, one body, two lenses, call it a day. Or you could do, 40 and 85 would be good too, because 40 is somewhere between 35 and 50, and it's a kind of popular lens in some areas. Sony has the Sony 40mm 2.5G. There's also the Viltrox, I think it's Air 40mm f2.5. Nikon has a beautiful little pancake lens 40mm that's cute. The equivalent on this system, there's also a Panasonic one that's a very small 40mm. It's 20mm on this size. Any camera with a 28 and a 50 makes a beautiful minimalist set. When I go out, my current minimalist setup right now, mine, is I use this camera, the OM3. On it right now is equivalent to a 50mm. In my left hoodie pocket, I carry the equivalent to a 35mm. In my right hoodie pocket, the equivalent to a 90. And this strap, period. That's my setup. That's everything. SD card or whatever. Related to this, accessories. I will tell you the only ones you absolutely need, and then I will suggest maybe some that you don't. A spare battery and or charger. If your system makes it easy to do spare batteries, do that, because then it's so much easier just to run and grab a spare battery and then have that with you. You have so much more joy. If you have a setup where you can have one charging while you're using your gear and you come home and you swap them out all the time, it's heaven. An extra SD card. Everybody else, I see all these things. I must not shoot enough pictures, but I always see people saying they forget their SD cards or they fill up. Have an extra SD card. That's fine. They're super tiny. You can put it in your wallet, your bag, whatever. A very small bag or sling. Just bought this one. You can see it's like firm. It hasn't been used. This is Carhartt, and it's a crossbody sling bag. And it's not made for cameras, but I'm going to use it for cameras and or my journal. And the reason I got it is because it's not made for cameras. Someone seeing that doesn't go, a bag full of cameras, I will steal it. That's why I picked it. And I think that it's very versatile because I can keep it on the front of my body if I want to get at things a little faster. I can kind of have it over the side if I want to just be able to get in and out of it. I almost never need a bag, but if I'm going to travel, that's the kind of bag I'm going to take with me. So a small bag or a sling. A strap. So this strap here I got off of Etsy somewhere, and it connects with these fast connectors from Peak Design. And so it's really fun because you can snap it in really fast. You're good to go. I've been wearing this around my neck a lot lately, but maybe that's just a little too much for you. The other way you could do it is like this one, which is like a leash. And I got this. This is also Peak Design. This is a little leash, and so you can use this kind of a thing. Whatever's going to make you keep the camera close at hand. It is amazing how many people put their cameras way in their bag, and then they're walking on the street and they're like, oh, a spontaneous fire juggler has appeared. And then they can't take the photo because it takes them a minute and a half to get their camera out of their bag. It's silly to me. So a strap, something to cover it around. And then I didn't have one on my desk. I thought I did, and I was looking for it right before I hit record, and I forgot. But like a little baby flash. I think if you have a little flash, you could do a lot more stuff. And I think there's some great opportunity in that process. So it's definitely worth it to have something like that around. I wanted to show you, my whole hope in this whole video wasn't to make you feel bad. It wasn't to make you endure thoughts of gear acquisition syndrome. It was to understand that a minimalist setup is going to get you so far. And where you start is where you start. And whatever you have is probably good enough. And when you finally decide, oh, but I want a real camera now, it's really important that you think through those 5 dimensions I showed you, that you really consider the concept of a real small setup, that you sell away any mistakes that you've made in your choices, and you keep narrowing it down until you get the thing that's going to make it work for you, and then stick with it for a bit. I'm really happy that I've had this for well over a year now, and I've really enjoyed it. And I'm a little shy that I bought this other one, and this one currently has my heart more than this one does. But even then, I'm trying my hardest to like stick to primarily working with one tool so that I can work more on what I actually want to do, which is go out there and meditate by taking photos. My goal is to connect in that time with the stuff in front of me and keep this little rectangle of glass in my pocket and out of my soul. It's to take some time forward just for me. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions, you can send them to chris@chrisbrogan.com. I had a beautiful letter came in today, but I'm really grateful for it. I love when people write me. So chris@chrisbrogan.com, and leave a comment. If by some weird chance you haven't subscribed, that would really be so good. I'd be so happy. Consider it. But anytime between now and the next time I talk to you, be good to yourself. It's really important to me.